Hello, Shelby.
Hey, Tim, how's it going today?
Oh, very well. I think I'm a bit sugared out, though.
Really? Did you go trick-or-treating yourself, or did you just, take your dad tax on the kids'
I
candy?
did. No, I left the kids at home and I went and I hit about 125 houses. It was great. The kids stayed and gave out candy.
I hope you got the good stuff, uh, being that you're the
Yes,
adult and all.
I kept all the chocolate bars and I gave away all the weird stuff. And but I didn't get any pins in my apples and nothing really strange that would cause me for concern. How about you? How was your Halloween?
It was really great. We got a dusting of snow here in Southeast Michigan, which was a really fun surprise. I feel like it's better than rain for sure. And our oldest, he's 3.5, did really well this year trick-or-treating. He finally got it and was very happy. The weirdest candy we got was a full-size Chewy Warheads, which just like isn't a good one for 3-year-olds. Like it was very nice of the neighbor to give it to us, but we're gonna have to, sneak those warheads out of his basket and
Yeah, did you send them out by himself? Like, did he go out with some friends and come back by 9?
no, unfortunately not. We're still embracing the game to go with them phase. It was really fun this year. So
I think trick-or-treating is equally as fun for the parents as it is for the children.
yeah, it was pretty special. And we're in a really family-friendly subdivision. Anyways, this isn't why we're here today. We're here because it's November 1st and it's our monthly live stream. And Tim, November in the Great Lakes is really synonymous with unpredictable conditions. Most of the buoys are coming out of the lake, so we don't have as many measurements. And we can see that on Seagull, a lot of stations going yellow or orange. And then, of course, there's, November also means Edmund Fitzgerald. We think of that being, yeah.
There we go.
Let me get a picture of the ship up too. That's on me. Thank you. Yeah. It was.
The legend lives on.
And Tim, is that Edmund Fitzgerald behind you too?
That is. So the picture behind me on the wall, that's a painting of the Edmund Fitzgerald. It was actually in my dad's office at his workplace. And in that song that we just played, memorialized really by Canadian singer Gordon Lightfoot, who sadly left us, I think, just this year in 2023, I believe. But yeah, really drew attention to the shipwreck and the disaster. But it also, that shipwreck had actually fantastic change in the Great Lakes. Were you aware that all kinds of maritime regulations were affected because of that particular tragedy?
Really? Like what?
Well, for instance, mandatory survival suits on board, more frequent.
Those orange Gumby suits?
Yeah, those orange Gumby suits. That's right. As they say, that not necessarily to make it easier to survive, but just easier to find the body. Inclusion of depth finders, positioning systems, higher freeboard on vessels, similar to the Titanic tragedy, how that affected international maritime law and the requirement of additional life-saving boats and life jackets and stuff like that on vessels. The Edmund Fitzgerald tragedy also sparked a lot of change in the Great Lakes for maritime regulations, which was good. Safety at sea is always important.
Absolutely. I didn't know those facts about the Edmund Fitzgerald leading to all those changes. But, for our users out there, when Tim and I were brainstorming who we wanted to invite on our live stream today, we wanted to focus on this angle of transportation on the Great Lakes and the shipping and, how that all works. So we also that data aspect, what data is collected and to help ship captains, and then how they get and use that information. So I'm really excited to announce our two guests today. We have Brian Hirsch. They're both from the National Weather Service, part of NOAA. We have Brian Hirsch, who's the Weather Service's Central Region Observations Program Manager, which means he's in charge of all the observations that Weather Service maintains across what they call the Central Region. And then we have Ron Williams, the Port Met Officer in the Great Lakes. So NOAA partners are particularly fun to engage with in interviews, at least I don't know if you feel the same way, Tim, but I feel like we're kind of like second cousins or distant family because we have this NOAA-esque flair at GLOS because we get so much NOAA funding, and we try to share a lot of their data and make sure we're being consistent with some of the stuff that they do.
Well, thanks for having us. If I knew we were going to talk about the Edmund Fitzgerald, I would have showed up early.
That's the truth. Absolutely.
Well, thanks to both of you for joining us. Can I ask both of you just to give us a really quick elevator pitch on what your positions are? And Brian, I'll ask you to go first.
I'm Brian Hirsch. I work with Ron Williams, and Ron does all the really good and attractive work, and we should have him go first. But I'll just say that I work with Ron on the marine program. I work on the back end with our observations, but not just marine and marine forecast, but I also do beach safety, water level impact issues on the Great Lakes, as well as some environmental issues. But Ron speaks and works directly with our ship captains.
So thanks, Brian. Yeah, this and Brian has a large part in this as well. So don't let him get off the hook on that. So, but appreciate it much. And so I'm the voluntary observation ship program manager. And what that entails is that we get observations from ships. Like this year, we've got 100 ships that are active. And every hour, we're getting observations, wind speed, barometric pressure, temperatures, and we get those in real time. So we get these observations. They go to our forecast offices, and then they utilize this data to make a better forecast. So basically, that's what I do. I get out and train these observers, these ship captains, and these mates on what to give us and give us accurate data. So we want to get really good pressures. We want to get good wind speeds. And so I manage that program, and we try to get the best data we can.
Well, thanks to both of you for sharing that. I think you're aware of it. I work at the Great Lakes Observing System. So when I hear people talk about data and in particular observations, I get really excited. So I'm excited to have both of you on the show because a large part of what you do really relates to what we do in terms of aggregating and collecting and then presenting or publishing data about the Great Lakes for others to see and have access to. So Ron, I guess a question for you then. What you mentioned about this observation data, and I mentioned how excited I get. I think our users do too. But what type of data specifically are you talking about, or do your stakeholders and users ask for?
So specifically, we're looking at wind speeds and waves are crucial for our operations. So we do get temperatures, we do get barometric pressure as well. But the winds and waves are the big chunk of what we get. We do have some automated systems as well. We do have some shipping companies that have some automated systems that work through their navigation system on the ship. And that does query and give us winds, wind speed and temperature. We haven't figured out how to get waves yet automatically, but that's a big blunt of our services as well, is getting this automated data. But then we've got the manual side as well, which they can go through, and we have a special form that they can fill out, and they can fill out in real time. So they fill out this form, and they can send up to 1 hour. And then we get this observation immediately. It goes to our forecast offices. So, we have a few different ways that we can receive this data that we ask for. So,
yeah, Ron and I are both meteorologists, and when you put out enough forecasts, you really come to a point where you love to see the observations. You want to know, did I get it right or not? So that was the forecast. What happened? And we're coming into into that time of the year where they pull the buoys. The buoys are always there. They're always giving us the waves. They're always giving us the winds. But very shortly, when the buoys come off the lakes, the only observations that we have to verify our forecast and for us to know whether we did a good job or not, whether the winds are higher or lower than we expected, and waves as well, are from these critical observations. And Ron works directly with the fleets as well as the captains and the mates to make sure that they're taking great observations. And those are observations right there on the lake, right in the middle of the lake, where without Ron's work, we have nothing. So it's really impressive to see. And I see Shelby is showing a graphic from weather.gov/Great Lakes. And on that page at the very top, you can find a visualization tool which provides not just the buoy data, but the actual ship data. And all the ships have their little ship icon next to them.
Thanks. So Ron, Ron, thank you for sharing the information about what sort of data you're focused on, and Brian about, the forecasting, what sort of, the drivers. I'm curious, like when you hear from Ron or other folks who are, providing data with what their needs or interests are, how does this drive your decision making in terms of what sorts of observations you're helping to support? Because everyone always wants more obs, right? And there's always going to be competing priorities. So that's a really tough question, I know. So I'm curious, like, how do you generally try to not prioritize, but make decisions or try to support the needs?
Well, Ron has a certain amount of equipment. And Ron, how many ships do you have?
Just about 100 ships this year. So yeah, which it seems to be increasing every year, which is a good thing. So,
and all of those ships are taking observations. We love ships that are just hauling the same product back and forth, right? We're just going across, say, Lake Michigan. We go to one side of the lake, then we turn around and we cross, and we offload our grain or our cement, rock, whatever it be, taconite, and we just keep making that sweep across the lake. Those are all observations that we receive. We're not paying them. We're just very happy to have them. And so in terms of priority, more is better. So we have a balance of not only manual, but then, as Ron said, some fleets are very nice and they share their data so that we're able to see what the winds are as they make that approach back and forth. And the way computers are now, some of those provide even 1 minute data.
Wow, that's impressive. So from my understanding, this data that Weather Service supports, it goes directly into your forecast system, which we won't get into too much about the acronyms of that, but that's a very specific system that only Weather Service accesses in terms of the data. And then we also saw one of the data platforms, but are there other data platforms that you leverage in your work? And, we're curious, is Seagull among them? Brian, do you want to start since you were just finishing up?
Sure. So visualization is really important. When we receive the data, when Ron and I are QCing data, a lot of times it's a string. It's numbers, slashes, and numbers. That's all it is. And it's valuable, but it has more value when you put it on a map. And it has more value when you add colors. And it has more value when, instead of just looking at this lake or this table, when you can slide across and you can see the whole lakes. And so visualization tools like Seagull are really important. We have our own way of decoding the data. And so it shows up on our weather equipment as well. But one of the important things to have a takeaway here is that on the Great Lakes, in general, we're great friends. And so working with GLOS, you have partners and citizen science data that is provided into you, and then that's provided to the National Data Buoy Center, and the National Data Buoy Center that magically sends it out everywhere. And so, as you saw on our webpage, but also on your webpage, the eventual goal for us all is that we're all sharing this data, so that we don't have these wonderful buoys that are out there that are only shown on one web page or a different web page. And certainly nothing that we have at our office do we want to hold on to. If we get it in, we're shipping it out, and it's available to Gloss and on Seagull.
Thank you. Ron, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I'd just like to say that, captains, when they're getting ready for their voyage across the Great Lakes, they're looking at all kinds of platforms. So they're looking at commercial sites, they're looking at ours, and they're just shopping for a forecast. So anytime we get something new that has a visualization like Seagull, it's just very well received. So when they can look at the visual aspect of, let's say, the currents, it's just very well received, and they really appreciate that. So yeah, it's just nice to have a product that they can utilize, and all good things.
That's awesome to hear. We take a bit of pride with Seagull, and but really the most important thing about Seagull is that we make it available, publicly available, and that we're providing value to our users, of which we have a lot of users. So I'm curious, have you heard any feedback from your users or partners who have worked with Seagull? Any feedback that Shelby and I can take away and help improve it for others?
So I have sent it out to the fleet, and the current, which Global used to have a product which went away years ago, but very well received, and they're just looking at that data and be able to see that visualization of that current has just been really received so far. So, but it's only been out for a few months that they've had it. So as I visit more ships, I'll get more feedback as well. But I expect it to be very well received.
That's great. Well, thank you very much for that. Have you got anything else to share with our viewers? We usually get anywhere from a couple of dozen to several hundred who watch these videos either now or after the fact. So anything else that you'd like to share on the Gloss Seagull live stream today?
I'm personally very happy that all the data is available there. And if people haven't been to your site, I hope they do, but I hope that they take the time to click on Deeper Dive, because when you click on Deeper Dive, you can learn not only about what the conditions are today or at this very moment, but you can look throughout the day and you can get some history as to how the wind evolved today. Was that the highest wave height when you were out there? Oh no, you thankfully missed some of the higher waves, and it was a good idea for you to come in today. So there's a lot of learning that recreational boaters can do by drilling down, and after they went out today, looking at what the data was, so that then in future they can know whether or not they feel confident to go out boating.
Great. Thank you. Ron, anything else that you'd like to share?
No, just thanks for having us on here, and this is just a great conversation, and I think that the Seagull product's going to be heavily utilized here with time to come. So appreciate it.
All right. Well, thanks both, and we look forward to seeing you again at some point in the future, maybe on the live stream, and certainly in the app and on the links. So thanks again.
Well, thanks for sharing all the data that you do with everyone. It's much appreciated.
Great. All right. Bye for now.
Thanks for joining us. That was really great. Actually, Brian Hirsch emailed us at the beginning of this field season and shared with us the deployment plans for the big National Data Buoy Center buoys that are, kind of like the big Sentinel buoys that have been out there for a long time. And he also asked if we could add some weather stations from around the region onto Seagull. So I thought, as field season officially ends, in my mind, field season runs from April 1st to the end of October. So November 1st, I did a look back, and we added approximately 50 new platforms to Seagull this year. And a number of those, I think almost 20, were towers from NDBC, with more on the way. So that was a really great relationship that Brian kicked off, and we were able to help make that happen.
Wow, 50 new platforms. That's about a 20% increase, if my math is correct, which is pretty huge for us. So that brings us to well over 200 platforms that we have available on Seagull for users to access data and information from. Any idea, Shelby, what the fan favorites were for platforms this year?
Not officially. There's always a couple that stand out every season, but I'm actually just starting to gather that information, and we'll be sharing it with our data providers, hopefully early next week. So if you're a platform operator, stay tuned for your 2023 station analytics. And yeah, I'll hopefully be able to share more in December if you want.
Right. Well, speaking of metrics, we had a pretty good season on Seagull. We had over 100,000 individual users visit Seagull over this past field season.
Wow.
And I was super pleased that you mentioned the ability to Ron and Brian about creating a free account on Seagull. We've got almost 2,500 registered users on Seagull. These are people who have created a Seagull account. They can regularly visit Seagull. Then they can customize their preferences. They can receive alerts and notifications on their smartphone or in their email. Now, it wasn't quite the 1 million users that we were hoping for, but there's still time and there's always hope. And if we don't have hope, then we don't have anything. So we're counting on users like you to help us spread the word to organically grow Seagull, because organic growth on software is the best kind of growth. And we're looking forward to you sharing the story of Seagull and helping us grow the platform.
Yeah, I would definitely echo that. And also, maybe this winter we'll have some more users even, because we're expecting to have some overwinter data for this season in a number of lakes. So definitely, if you're interested, check it out, because we'll still have some live data coming in.
That's right. So we are looking at what we call winter obs, or winter observations. So that will soon be coming to Seagull. We're looking forward to that. We've got some great partners lined up. We'll share more with you once we get a little bit further down. But what it does mean is that rather than numbers dropping off or usage of Seagull dropping off in the winter months, we hope to have year-round observations and year-round interaction with Seagull, which would be great. Next month on the Seagull Users live stream, we have a special guest to be announced. So look for the newsletter from Gloss. If you're not signed up for it, just go to www.gloss.org and subscribe. We'll send you the newsletter, which has all of the information about this live stream and everything else that's going on at Gloss, of which there's always a lot of stuff. And we thank you for joining us today. And we look forward to seeing you in the app and on the live stream and on the lakes. Shelby, anything else to add?
That's it, Tim. Thanks for the wrap up and taking us home.
All right. All right. Well, enjoy the rest of your day, evening, afternoon, whatever it may be for you, where you are. And we look forward to seeing you next time. Thanks,
Bye,
Shelby.
everyone.
Thanks, users.